contract freight and what I often refer to as weathering the storm. So today is kind of like a bloody Thursday on the stock market. My portfolio is taking a massive hit. Now, I think it'll only be temporary. This is the day after Liberation Day during the Trump administration where, the United States is trying to equalize the playing field when it comes to tariffs. And I understand, and in many ways, I'm not opposed to this at all. Um, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I remember when we had manufacturing in this country. And I've talked to the older men in my family and my grandfather and stuff like this. And back in the 50s, when a guy needed a job, all he had to do is go down to the local manufacturing plant, walk in, and say he's ready to work. He'd get hired the same day, and he'd stay there, for his career, more than likely. And everyone knows these stories, from family history, and many times the older generation doesn't understand why, the younger generations have such a hard time finding a job. It's because of the trade policies of the United States from the last 50 years, shipping jobs overseas. We saw it in the 1970s with Japan, and then in the year, I would say during the Clinton administration, it really started with China. Definitely during the Bush administration, it started with China. So it was both parties, Democrat and Republican. So you know, you can't necessarily blame it on one or the other. And I try to be apolitical as much as I possibly can. Um, I will say, there's been good Democrats and there's been bad Republicans, and there's been good Republicans, and there's been obviously been bad Democrats. So it does vary from time to time. And as a small business owner, you're like, okay, this is nuts. How are we supposed to make a profit in this type of environment where we don't know from one administration to the next administration, what the economy is going to be like? And this is what I come back to with contract freight. It's very stable. It's very consistent. You know, um, contract freight. I'll define it as freight that a carrier has uh, arranged with their customers year over year over year, and they negotiate the contract for that customer annually, and they will come up with agreed upon prices for hauling their freight, and then the company sends their drivers in and picks up these loads, whether drop and hook or live loads, and so it's very consistent. So conversely, if you're on the spot market, you're subject to the whims of the economy. It'll go up, it'll go down. During the pandemic, it went up. During other times, it comes crashing down. It's a boom and bust cycle. And it's very hard on the guys who are on the spot market to operate in that type of environment where it's up and down, up and down. No consistency, and their overhead is consistently high, but their mile their rate, the dollar per mile fluctuates. And so it's very hard for them to budget. It's hard for them to plan. It's hard for them to strategize about how to grow the business or hire drivers, for example. But if you're a contract freight, much more predictable for you to manage your business. And I'll give you some examples with Crete. It's kind of like recession proof, where the customers at Crete are staple products. We're hauling food, for Walmart. If you're in a reefer division, you're hauling refrigerated food. The food is very recession resistant. So that's good quality contract freight. We'll haul Walmart loads. When times are tough, people will go to discount retailers like Walmart for their shopping needs. So it's not affected by the ups and downs of the economy. We'll haul water. We'll haul dog food. Things like that. Whether or not we're in a recession, pet owners still got to buy food for their pets. So we'll haul toilet paper. We'll haul beer. A lot of times when the economy is down, people purchase more alcohol. So these types of customers are very, very stable, and contract freight is very, very stable. And as a new owner operator, that might be something that you value. Is he's like, you got to know what your earnings are going to be. Hi John, you got to know that the loads are going to be there for you one week after the next, because you're learning how to become an owner operator, and you need to have that stability. You need to plan on making your truck payments. So you don't want to be subject to the wild wild west of the spot market. So there's certain advantages contract freight has, and during a storm, an economic storm, any port will do. That's why during the pandemic, the guys on Spark Market were doing great. But when the pandemic ended, the rates crashed. And where did these guys go? They gave up their trucking authority, and they went to a big box retailer with contract freight until the storm passed and rates would go back up. So there's different types of freight out there. Spot market freight, and there's contract freight. So I would suggest for new owner operators or guys thinking about becoming owner operators, contract freight is very, very stable, very, very stable. Um, Once you're more established and you have finances built up and you have good credit and you have little to no debt, and you want to take a chance on the spot market, then by all means, go on the spot market. There's nothing wrong with going on the spot market. But many times what happens is that the rates on the spot market go up, and everybody wants to jump into the spot market. They flood the spot market with new authorities, and then the rates come back down, and these guys are wiped out because for some reason they thought those rates were going to stay high, and they don't. They never do. So you think, oh, $4 a mile, I got to go on the spot market. And then you buy a new truck, you buy a trailer, and you're off to the races, and then the rates crash. And then your business crashes along with it. So that's the dangers of jumping into the spot market when you're not a solidly built business. I really do believe contract freight is a good place to start. Build your foundation as an owner operator, study the industry, know how to buy and sell trucks, for example, know how to deal with breakdowns and repairs, have your finances built up, and maybe someday you'd say, okay, I'm ready to go in the spot market, and I have financial strength to weather the ups and downs of the economy, the boom and bust cycle. If you're not ready to do that, then contract freight is really the best place for you to be. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.